welcome to another video. This one is a little bittersweet. Stood next to me is the beautiful Ford RS200, my dad's old car that we still race today. And in today's video, a very, very famous man from France, Francois Delecour, takes her for a spin, but it doesn't end well. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you what happened, behind the scenes, all that. Bittersweet, like I said. Means a lot to me. It's a 1987 Ford RS200 Group B rally car. But this one was made from the factory as a rallycross car. Was never a rally car, was built by Ford Motorsport as a rallycross car for my dad, the one and only Pat Doran. This is the livery that he ran years ago in 1992, which is when he had his best results in this car, which is why we keep it in this livery today. So whenever it's driven, it's recognized. So it's sort of like a museum piece today.
Current holder, of course, of the British Grand Prix title, and Pat Doran can be based on the times taken, so there's no holding back conserving the car. And on the other hand, ex-rally man, now into his first full international season of European rallycross. What a great season he's having, Netherlands in it at long last. But Pat Doran showing us just what he's made of here with the RS200, the Julian Godfrey powered car, takes the checkered flag. Pat Doran wins that one in fine style. But
hi everyone. Hi Andrea.
Hello.
Here she is. As everyone knows, this is Rosie. It's a long story, but I won't take long. I'd been rallying for many years and had a cosy and got in with Fords, as you do. Had a good relationship with Gordon Spooner, Ford's right-hand man at the time. And I don't know if I convinced him or he convinced me to build one of these stunning things. And this was built from the ground up as a rallycross car. Yeah, it was a hell of a thing. It was different from going from a 300 horsepower to go to a 600 horsepower, four-wheel drive. And the biggest thing was it was right-hand drive, and we convinced Fords to keep it right-hand drive because the circuits were right-handed, and I'd never driven a left-hand drive car, but I didn't tell them that bit. So the first year was developing it, and she became fairly successful. Something a bit different, and gave me what I've got today. So God bless her. Got a lot of memories, most of them bad. Run out of talent, but I think the best time was probably winning in France, the Grand Prix, winning the French Grand Prix in front of 30,000 people and singing God Save the Queen, and you hear a pin drop, and I was the only one singing it, with Francois Delecour and Jean-Luc Paillet either side of me, two famous Frenchmen, and I stood there. Yeah, great moment for our little team, because we didn't have a big team. Julian and Simon, Julian Godfrey, that you probably all know about now, and he developed this engine into the monster that it was, and it sounded different to everyone else's, and that was his secret. So thanks to Julian and the team, and we used to travel around like a circus, around to each country and do our thing. So that was a good memory for us. The worst one was she caught fire, and yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, when you try to get out the car and you're being burnt alive, it's not a good thing. And but we found a way. I found a way out, and the rest was history. That was the worst thing. There's a few of them, but we won't go on about them all.
It's going to be off. It's going to be in the grass, sliding, and he's gone heavily off the back road there.
Rosie's coming back out. Liam's going to drive her in the Legends event in France. Obviously we had Legends this year, or the year just gone past. We had Legends at Lydden, and now we've got the Louis Legends in the end of May. Liam's driving that and his Mini, and I'm taking the Escort. So we're going over to wave the flag again in France.
It's a very famous, very rare. They only made they said they make 200, but they didn't really make 200. There isn't even that many. In the world now left, there's like 20 or 30, I don't even know. Maybe not even that many. So this is super rare. So really it shouldn't even be getting driven, but it does, because you know us. What are you gonna do? Leave it parked up? What's the point of that? So we use it, we drive it. It's rear motor mounted, so the engine's in the back. It's 2.1 litre, 4-cylinder, turbocharged. It makes 800 horsepower, which is absolutely ridiculous. The car only weighs 1,000 kilos, which is 2,200 pounds. So you can imagine the power to weight is pretty bonkers. It's got actually an updated gearbox now because the old school gearboxes were very, very, very delicate. It's got a 6-speed sequential gearbox, which makes it much more like a modern car. It's 4-wheel drive, so front diff, which is what I'll come back to. Rear diff, driving all 4 wheels. It's got radiator in the front, which normally my cars have the radiator in the back because the engine's in the front, but because the engine's in the back, the gearbox is in the front, the radiator's in the front, the intercooler's in the back. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy car. The whole thing is carbon Kevlar. The whole car's composite. It's got a honeycomb floor pan. It's not even got a steel chassis. It's just got a steel roll cage with a composite tub, and then all these panels, everything is composite. There's no metal on the car base. It's super lightweight, as I said, loads of horsepower. The absolute wildest thing I have ever driven in my life. Now you're thinking, there's no way. This guy's the guy we know because he's doing wheelies in minis. Like, I'm telling you now, this thing takes the biscuit way away from the Mini. The Mini's really cool, but it's not as dangerous as this. This is so light and so powerful with so much grip, you have to drive this like you're ready to, if you know what I mean. Like, it's pretty crazy. So let's get into the details. This all comes apart. I have kind of got it under control, but you might have to bear with me. Oh, look at that. Got it under control. So as you can see, it doesn't look like your normal car, mainly because there's no engine in the front. Bit of a funny one, actually. You like this? My dad won't like this. The suspension, normally there's 2 shock absorbers, because back in the day, 1 shock absorber wasn't strong enough to take on the abuse that rallying did. So they put 2 suspension dampers on, so it's like twin shock. But right now, it stands with only 1 on. Now I'll tell you the reason why it's kind of funny is because those shocks, dampers, Riga dampers actually, they're like the best of the best dampers. They're on the Mini. So I wanted to improve the suspension on the Mini, and these just happened to be very, very close to what I needed. So while I waited for new ones to come, we borrowed some Ford RS200 suspension dampers for the Mini, which is probably the biggest claim to fame the Mini has. If it's not doing wheelies in a circle, spinner wheelies, it's because it's got RS200 dampers on it.
They're out here doing spinner wheelies.
Anyway, moving on. So the dampers are missing. You can see normally there's 1 there as well. So 2 dampers, it's double wishbone suspension on the front, big old WRC brakes, Ali Sport radiator in the front, the air comes in here, goes through and out underneath the bonnet. Pretty simple. Now the big thing, you can see here, there's a diff there, front diff, and the gearbox. So in this car, the gearbox is here, and the differential is here, front drive shafts, pretty common sense driven, but it's very different to your normal car. If you come around here, I'll show you the inside. 6-speed sequential gearbox, super basic cabin. Like this car is like a modern version, like upgraded version of the original. So the design of the whole chassis is exactly how it was. We kept it very, very genuine, very original to how it was when Dad raced it. But for obvious reasons, we've upgraded everything that is now pretty bad because of the 37 years. 37 years old, we got new WRC brakes on it. It's got, like I said, the dampers, the new WRC spec Riga dampers on it. It's got like an updated electronic system, ECU, all the sensors are updated. It's got an updated sequential gearbox, like the list goes on and on. I'll show you in the back as well in a minute. But we really wanted to keep the design original, which we did. So it's still got 2 shocks, even though we could go to 1 now with technology. It's still the gearbox design, everything's still the same. The radiator's still in the front, even though it's a much newer type of radiator with newer fans. So you can kind of get what I'm saying. It's a very modern take of the original car. And if you look at it, what I'm trying to say is the inside is still very basic. It's got some analog gauges, it's got some trip fuses. There's no fancy electronics to be seen. There is behind the scenes to control the engine to make it safe, but what you see is very basic. Now it's very basic because we want to keep it original. So as you can see, it looks, I mean, there's not even any buttons on the steering wheel. You know, who has a car without buttons on the steering wheel these days? Any car you go on the road has got paddles and, you know, radio buttons. So yeah, it's basic. Now, let me show you the money shot. So in some real YouTube style, if you can see me over there now, we needed a hand, so I can't lift this up on my own. So here we go. This is the money shot. So lift up a little bit there, and then just walk back. That's it, easy as that. Lovely. And then put it down, just like basically how it is in the car. Okay, so in the back, it's pretty wild. Like, it just is. There's a lot going on. So we've got all the Alley Sport stuff, power steering tank, water coolant head and tank, oil tank, breather tank, intercooler. We've got over here a huge turbo. It's a Borg Warner turbo, massive turbo, big pipe across the air filter. Again, positioned for 2 shocks, but we're missing one. So normally it'll be 2 Ryger shocks here. Double wishbone suspension on the rear. A pretty simple exhaust system, so as you can imagine, it's pretty loud. It's got a silencer just for a token gesture, but yeah, that's just all it needs. This makes a lot of fire, which is nice. Fire is my favorite. I'm like a child with fire. The rear diff is here. So it's got an independent rear diff from the gearbox in the front, so that drives the rear wheels. And then the most important part is this part, which is the engine. 2.1 litre BDT-E Ford engine, 16 valve, 800 horsepower. It's got anti-lag, there's an anti-lag valve over here, twin fuel pumps. I could go on forever, like I said, go on forever. It's got actually something that's really cool that I like, is even though we've got like a more modern turbo, more modern electronics, more modern cooler, we've got like an anti-lag valve, which is obviously modern, we didn't have those back in the day. Fuel pumps are a bit more modern. Coils, injectors, all that stuff is way more modern than it would have been. This bad boy, right here, is what they call an F1 Megatron wastegate. And it's an actual wastegate that they ran on these RS200s they got from a Formula 1 car back in the day, whatever, 1985. When Formula 1 cars were turbocharged, that's called the Megatron wastegate, which I think, that's cool. There's a lot of original parts on the car, but a lot of it's been remade to be better. That is actually from how the car would have been. So yeah, that's the overview on the back. Now, let's get into the details of what happened. So, Francois Delecour is driving. He's a very, very famous, legendary rally driver and rallycross driver, has been for a very long time.
Francois Delecour was the last Mitsubishi standing at Rally GB 2002, until he wasn't. And it was his co-driver who took both barrels of the fiery Frenchman's anger for reading a pace note late.
C'était trop tard! Je me l'ai annoncé 10 fois trop tard! 10 fois trop tard, Doumé, 10 fois trop tard. 100 fois trop tard.
Mad driver and doing a great job of driving this car this weekend. The only person that can drive it faster is me. Actually, not so sure. He's doing a great job. Putting on a good show, really making the car look good. So yeah, and it's awesome to have him here. Like, he's iconic. I've been trying to explain to you kind of briefly through showing you the car. It's very rare, there's not very many of them. We've modernised a lot of the car to make it more reliable, make it more cost effective to run, but sometimes actually just to preserve the original parts. Now, I said it had a sequential gearbox, so it has a new gearbox, so we kept the original, there's a couple of them, they're very expensive, very worth a lot of money. The differential, we've never gotten around to remanufacturing like a more modern version. So the differentials in the car are original. Now, the differential in this car was not only one of, let's say, 150 whatever, it was more rare. It was actually one of only 2 Ford Motorsport later evolution cast differentials for the front of these cars. So basically the differentials were magnesium and they were starting to break during the Rallycross era. They were breaking, so Ford Motorsport made 2 very rare front differentials out of aluminium, cast aluminium, with much more bracing on them, much stronger. So they were basically like the rarest part on the car. And the crazy Frenchman blew the shit out of it.
After the corner, the brake, for example, I have the brake here, and the next corner a little bit low, like something is moving in the front. It's not a big problem, but like something is moving in the front.
So we'll show you some close-ups, but anyway, the front diff in the car destroyed itself at Lydden Hill. I was emotional. This car means a lot to me. I've driven it a lot. It's actually taught me pretty much everything I know because it's the craziest car in the world to drive, and I drove it quite early on in my life. So I'm very, very lucky to have had that opportunity. No one gets that chance. But it also taught me a lot and put me where I am today because I had to learn how to ride the fucking craziest bull there is, sort of thing. So when you're in the deep end, this is the deep end. Anyway, it means a lot to me. So when that thing blew up, I was like, heart sank, this is terrible. Now it is terrible. The other problem is, we had the other one. The other differential, the other one of two, we have it, and it was sat in that car right there behind me. Now it broke a couple of years ago in that car. So which means we have single-handedly made the Ford Motorsport aluminium diff casing extinct. And that makes me feel bad. But no, all is not lost. I don't know if it was the crazy Frenchman's fault. Francois, don't take it personally. It's emotional. You didn't do it deliberately, obviously. It's fine if you're watching this. Apologies, but we're making a video about you breaking the car. Got to do what I got to do. We're actually already in the process of making the modern version. We've copied it already. The thing's drawn and we're making a brand new billet aluminium diff casing to replace what is broken. So we'll come back swinging bigger, hitting stronger. This thing's amazing. You'll be seeing more. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in for the next one. Subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you thought. Do you love it? Do you not? I hope you do. I love it. Hit the notification button so it goes ding, ding, ding when I post a video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Next time.